Welcome to the webinar on business franchising in Malaysia, opportunities, issues and challenges. Associate Professor Insinyur Dr. Ahmad Rashidi Razali, Rector, Universiti Teknologi Mara, Cawangan Pulau Pinang, Professor, Associate Professor, Doctors, Lecturers and all audience. Salam sejahtera and good evening. This international webinar is organized by Faculty of Hotel and Tourism Management, UiTM Cawangan Pulau Pinang. The program is now live streaming via UiTM Cawangan Pulau Pinang official YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to invite Yang Berusaha, Associate Professor Insinyur Dr. Ahmad Rashidi Razali, Rector UiTM Mara, UiTM Cawangan Pulau Pinang, to deliver his welcoming remarks. Please welcome. We wait for Dr. Rashidi for the welcoming remarks. So in a moment, okay, just relax, enjoy, and if you have some coffee and tea, it's gonna be good. Okay, while waiting for the program to start. Dr. Ahmad Rashidi.
Yes, Dr. Andy. Thank you so much for your introduction.
Yeah, good to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes, you can start with the welcoming remarks. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, moderator Dr. Anderson from Faculty of Hotel and Tourism Management, Pulau Pinang Branch. The Honorable Associate Professor Dr. Hashim Fazil Arifin, Head Center of Studies, Faculty of Hotel and Tourism Management, UiTM Cawangan Pulau Pinang. Distinguished speakers, Professor Dr. Azmawani Abdul Rahman, Vice Chairman, Subcommittee Education and Research, Malaysian Franchise Association, Ms. Murni Suranti Muhammad Latif, Advocate and Solicitors Muhammad Latif and Associates, the committee members of UiTM Pulau Pinang Branch, representatives from UiTM Public and Private Higher Learning Institution, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you. Salam sejahtera. Alhamdulillah, with the grace and consent of Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, I am delighted to be here today in conjunction with webinar Business Franchising in Malaysia, Opportunities, Issues and Challenges. On behalf of the Vice Chancellor, the Honorable Professor Datuk Teknologi Dr. Hajjah Roziah Muhammad Jano, and the management of Universiti Teknologi Mara UiTM, it is my pleasure to convey my sincere appreciation to the two distinguished speakers and the committee members for making this event a success. It is a great honor for me to be here in this webinar on business franchising in Malaysia, opportunities, issues and challenges. Actually, this is the fourth webinars under the USA Malaysia International Exchange Program 2022, organized by Faculty of Hotel and Tourism Management, Universiti Teknologi Mara Pulau Pinang Branch, Malaysia, led by Dr. Nur Hidayah Haji Ahmad. Ladies and gentlemen, the two speakers are expert in the field of business franchising, especially in the Malaysian context. I would like to say thank you for your willingness to be with us tonight at this franchise industry knowledge sharing event. Franchising plays a significant role in the Malaysian economy. It offers the local people a chance to own, manage, and direct their own businesses without having to take all the associated risk. This aspect has allowed many people to open businesses of their own who might never have done so otherwise. Moreover, it supports the national GDP through millions of ringgits in products and services, payrolls, and the creation of jobs. The local economies benefit from franchises by providing jobs, tax payments, and community involvement. At University Technology Mara, we encourage students to explore entrepreneurship careers, such as through franchise businesses. We have signed a memorandum of understanding with Shopee Mobile Malaysia to provide opportunities for our students to explore entrepreneurship activities. They help to create an online business platform called UITM Marketplace, where students can take the opportunity to market their products, including their own. The move is in line with the UITM Strategic Plan 2025, which aims to provide opportunities for students to venture into entrepreneurship, which indirectly increases graduate employability. Ladies and gentlemen, to be successful in franchising business, it is important to understand the latest issues and trends affecting the franchising business ecosystem. For example, the COVID 19 pandemic has had a great impact on business survival. Direct effects can be seen in reduced income, losses, changes in customer preferences, and business relationship between franchisors and franchisees. Some franchises have had to close their operations, and others still struggle to survive during the pandemic crisis. Thus, insight on what and how current policies, strategies, and programs affect the franchise industries are warranted to ensure the viability of the industry after the pandemic outbreak. I believe the invited speakers will share their views on this matter with us tonight. Before I end my speech, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Faculty of Hotel and Tourism Management, UITM Cawangan Pulau Pinang, for organizing the webinar. My sincere appreciation to the dedicated committee members who have worked diligently to ensure that the successful implementation of the event. Huh? Job well done. Okay, I'm looking forward for the fruitful outcomes of this event, and thank you very much. Back to you, Dr. Andy.
Thank you. Yang Berusaha Associate Professor Insinyur Dr. Ahmad Rashidi Razali for the wonderful opening speech. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are blessed to have two speakers, Professor Dr. Azmawani Abu Rahman and Ms. Murni Suraiti Muhammad Latif to share with us about business franchising in Malaysia. They are expert in matters related to franchise industry in Malaysia. This will be 2 hours webinar. Thus, get yourself a coffee or tea and make yourself comfortable. To all attendees, if you have any questions related to today's webinar, feel free to post on the chat box. Our team will pick up the questions and will read your questions. Because of the time limitation, we only allow 10 minutes for Q&A in each session. Before I call upon the first speaker, okay, I would like to inform you the brief profile, okay, of Professor Dr. Azmawani Abu Rahman. Okay. She is the president and CEO at Putra Business School, Malaysia. She graduated with the Bachelor of Science in Finance from the University of South Alabama, United States of America, Master of Science in Management from UPM, and PhD in Operations and Technology Management from Aston University, United Kingdom. Prof. Azmawani has vast managerial experience, both at the higher education sector and business sector. Prior joining UPM, she was a revisor at the stockbroking company. At UPM, she served as Director of Corporate Strategy and Communication Office, where she was responsible for various university main functions such as public and media relations, strategic communication, university world rankings and ratings, risk management, strategic directions, and key performance. Prior to that, she was a deputy director at UPM Research Management Center, head of department and deputy dean at the Faculty of Economics and Management. As an academician, she has published in more than 100 international journals, lead international and national research projects, and supervised PhD students. Without further ado, I would like to call upon Professor Dr. Azmawani. The screen is yours, Prof.
Oh, I thank you. So I can. Okay, all right. Assalamualaikum. And hello everyone. Thank you to the organizing committee and to Rector Universiti Teknologi Mara Pulau Pinang. Thank you for inviting me. All right, so today I'll be talking on the opportunities, issues, and challenges in business franchising, as mentioned by the moderator, Dr. Andy. I am currently President and CEO of Putra Business School. And tonight, I'm also wearing another cap as a Vice Chairman, Subcommittee Education and Research of the Malaysian Franchise Association. So actually, I wanted to tell you that together with me tonight is Encik Faizal Latif. So he's at the backstage, yeah. So she will be together with us if you have any question regarding the franchise industry, yeah. Okay, right. Before I start, let me take you to a brief history about franchise. Yeah. So this is two newspaper clips back in year 1984. So the headline of this newspaper cutting is like the Prime Minister, the then Tun Mahathir, urging the business, yeah, not to be just at the local level or the national level, but to make sure they want the business, local business, to venture to the overseas market. Yeah, here it is actually highlighted in this newspaper cutting. Back in, even it started in 1984. Franchise system is a system used globally, including in Kuala Lumpur. There are many new restaurants like McDonald's, KFC. So this was the year when this system of franchise being introduced, and Malaysian business need to learn and then expand and learn to have a systematic business model like franchise business. Yeah. And another newspaper cutting highlight on the Prime Minister, Malaysian Prime Minister, request a collaboration with United States and to send two franchise experts from Harvard University, so that Malaysian can learn about this franchise system. So franchise is not new, but it has been recognized and has been acknowledged since in the 80s, yeah, as a proven as a business that have a very good system. Yeah. So then what is actually franchising? Yeah. So before I start going further in my sharing today, everybody need to understand the term franchisor and franchisee. Yeah. So basically, my sharing today will be on the issues, challenges, trends, as well as some of the important business aspect of the franchise. Yeah. So if we look at the definition of franchise, yeah, it is a method of marketing and distributions of product or services. That's why we can see out there retails, yeah, selling product, but most of it is on the service as well. And it's emphasized here two-party relationship. That is a franchisor. So franchisor is the owner and grantor of the rights. So we are talking about rights, yeah. And the franchisee is the recipient of the rights. So what is this right? The right, yeah. The right is actually uh, uh, the right granted by the franchisor, the owner of the right, to the franchisee for the purpose of running the business by using using the trademark, yeah. So if you can see, I put example here, the trademark like the McDonald's trademark, like global art. So this is the trademark, a trademark, yeah. And the trade name, the name of global arts, the name of using the name of McDonald, to use the name, yeah. Not only that, on a specific system. So what is in this system for franchise? System and also the rights using sell the same product and system. Let's say a system of producing SOP of producing the burger, yeah. Or let's say it's here with the global arts. They have this package like here, let's say visual sorry, cannot really see it, junior arts, advanced art, cartoon comic. So this is actually the package um, prepared or offered by the global art as a franchisor. So franchisee also, you can use this specific system of operations, offering the same product, offering the same service, yeah, at a specific location agreed by both franchisor and franchisee. And this is very important, with a specific period of time, like 5 years, yeah, and then to renew another 5 years. So this is basically franchising, yeah, or franchise business. So next, are you familiar with this brand? Richiamo, Zeus, Old Town White Coffee, Bubble Bee. So are these franchise? It's sometimes it's quite confusing, yeah, by the people outside to see. I mean, sometimes the feedback that we receive, not I mean, like sometimes they feedback like, oh, Richiamo or Zeus is a franchise because they see a lot of Zeus outlets everywhere, but not necessarily, yeah. Old Town is a franchise. Bubble Bee just got the franchise license. So it's very difficult to see from the the brand or the outlet whether it is a franchise business or not, yeah. But actually not all business establishment out there, if even you see multiple or many outlets, many outlets, but not necessarily it is a franchise. So franchising is the only business model that is under the direct supervision of Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, and it must register as a franchisor and following the rules and regulations, Malaysian Franchise Act 1998, Amendment 2020. And the next sharing after this, Miss our next speaker will be talking more on the Franchise Act. Okay. So next will be, who are the important stakeholders when we talk about franchise ecosystem in Malaysia? As I mentioned, the Ministry, KPNHEP, yeah, Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs. So the ministry is actually, the role is as a policy maker and responsible for the Franchise Act and the registrar of the franchise. So that means if the business out there, if you want to be a franchisor, you must register as a franchisor with the Ministry of KPDNHP, yeah, Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs. So, and another important establishment for a franchise sector is the Malaysian Franchise Association. Yeah, so Malaysian Franchise Association is a franchise non-government organization, and the role of Malaysian Franchise Associations is a bridge between players and the government. So MFA is actually working very closely with the ministry and bridge between the industry players, the franchisor, the franchisee, the soon-to-be franchisor, yeah. And MFA also provide training in franchising and all sort of training. So if you want to know more about franchise, so you should go and get more information from Malaysian Franchise Association. So another important role, yeah, to make sure that to ensure that franchise business or franchise industry always inform, yeah, about the new development at the French in the franchise business. That Malaysian Franchise Association also organised together with the KPN and HEP the Franchise International Malaysia, which is the exhibition and the conference yearly event. Yeah, the only franchise event conducted in Malaysia. And also Malaysian Franchise Association, another role which is also closely work with the ministry on organising the Malaysian Franchise Award. Malaysian Franchise Award to give acknowledgement and recognition to the franchise players out there who contribute a lot to the franchise industry. And working together with the ministry as well on the enhanced franchise development program for the expansions of local franchisor to the overseas market. And then on the micro franchise scheme, which is the new trend in franchise industry, all sort of promotion, and the only association acknowledged by the World Franchise Council and Asian Pacific Franchise Federations Council. All right. Okay. So Malaysian Franchise Association works by the membership, and this is the total number of members, yeah, where Malaysian Franchise Associations actually have offer ordinary member, associate member. Some of the members are international student and the honorable member. A total of 541 number of members of MFA, and if you are the members of MFA, you can get a lot of benefits. Yeah. Okay, so what is the populations of franchisor in Malaysia? Now we're talking about registered, the franchisor, yeah. So if you look at this statistic, as of December 2021, the total number of registered franchisor is 936 franchise registration. The homegrown is of course more than the foreign franchisor, yeah. And if you can see from the statistic here, that the biggest number of the franchisor comes from the food and beverages sector, followed by the service and maintenance. Followed by other business. There are a lot of sectors lumped here under other businesses, but the three top sector in franchise business is food and beverages, service and maintenance, and the beauty and healthcare. So this is the populations of franchisor. We're talking about franchisor, but under the franchisor, there's a lot of franchisees. Yeah. So this is the total of registration. Now, this is information on the registrations of franchise buyer. So as you can see, starting from this is just the data from 2011. Quite fluctuates in the number of registrations by the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, and then fluctuate but quite stable around the number of 52, 56, or 50 something. But one of the interesting trend you can see in 2022, and this is data from the ministry, as of June is already 40 number of new franchise registration is only half year. So basically we can see that there will be a growing number of franchise registration, showing that the importance or the trend of business moving into the franchise business model. Okay, so this is information on of the Malaysia franchise expand globally. So actually franchise is one of the business model that business expansion model, and one of the model that can penetrate the overseas market, yeah, have the very high potential because of its proven business model, because of its strong branding. So as of 2021, if you can see, number of homegrown franchise brand globally rising to 68 brand. We're talking about brand, yeah. Some this brand venturing overseas. So reverse back to my first presentation slide just now, back in 1984, where the prime minister uh, the prime minister actually urged the Malaysian business to start following the franchise business model, and the Malaysia is just about to learn on the franchise business model. But look at today, year 2021, for example, 68 local brand venture to the overseas market, make presence globally. So this is something very encouraging, yeah, for franchise business. And franchise is one of the business model that have the opportunity to venture overseas. Okay, in terms of region, this is also data from Ministry of, why is it changing that much? But the biggest, yeah, presence of homegrown franchise brand is at the Southeast Asia. Yeah, and some most of it Asia, and then America, Europe. So this is also a proud number of Malaysian expansion of Malaysian franchise, yeah, business, and presence of homegrown franchise brand globally. The presence. Okay, now talking about the opportunity and challenges of franchise business. Yeah, so of course everybody would love to, to start a franchise business. What is franchise, and whether or not we have to go, whether or not the expansion through franchise is a good business model, is a good choice. So when we talk about opportunities and challenge, we always go back to risk. Employment, if you are employed, yeah, maybe the risk is little, yeah, but having your own business ownership, there's risk, yeah, regardless of the model, there's always risk in business. Okay, so business model, as you know it, like if you want to start your own business, you can buy existing business, or you can have you start up your own business, or you can buy a franchise business model. So you might think like, what would be the best option for you? Buy existing business, or you start new business, or you buy a franchise. So each business model, of course, has a unique advantage and disadvantages. But when we talk about business challenges, there's a fair share of challenges. At any business model, there's challenges at the macro level. Macro level, I'm talking. So when we talk about challenges at the macro level, any changes in politics, economic, social, technological change, like now people talk about digitalization, how organizations have to adapt to digitalization, or even on the environmental, like natural disaster, yeah, or changes in the legal, let's say the act, will, okay, affect all business, all business, regardless of the existing model, business model, startup, new, macro, or large business, or even franchise business. Okay, it will be affected. No one can escape from this macro level. Of course, with some exceptions with the sectoral, the differences in the sectoral. For example, our experience in during the COVID-19, although it affect business as a whole, but some sectoral, like let's say hospitality on tourism, is directly severely affected. A different sector because of certain, because of the pandemic. Yeah, but the thing is, the whole point is that, oh, okay, the whole point is that we cannot get away from the challenges of the macro level. Yeah, but talking about the franchise business, there's an advantage of franchise business model. So I was told that I only have 15 minutes. Okay, now. Okay, so franchise model, for example, first, if you with the franchise, yeah, the advantage, for example, of course, you can find out because it's already an established brand, so it's easy to find out before you buy or before you start the franchise business. For example, whether it is a good investment or not, or you can. Second is you can get the ongoing support. And with the franchise business model, this is very important because it is already established and proven business model. There's an established, there's a training and operational standard, and you can have a purchasing power due to the economies of scale, brand name, visibility and marketability, and ready to operate, and of course, a proven system and proven success. But some of the cons, of course, you will have to pay a franchise fee, royalty, and this is very important. You're not totally independent because you have to follow the system. You have to very compliance to the compliance with the rules and regulations of the franchisor. So you're not totally independent, especially if you have high entrepreneurial characteristic. You want to have a say in your own business. Yeah? But actually, franchise is a very good business model because it works. Yeah. First, because like the existing business, franchise is a proven and systematic approach starting and staying in business. It's a proven business model. It has been a success in the market. So if you buy a franchise business, for example, you start a franchise business, most of the franchisees, the decision is based on it is a proven business model because you can only register as a franchisor minimum if you have operate minimum 3 years. So it is a proven system. And the owner, the franchisor, they have experience, so they can give advice. They are also marketing experts within the franchise business itself, and it's already have the brand name. So this is why business franchising works. Yeah. So some of the opportunity why franchising why you might want to think why if you have a very good business model and then you want to franchise your business. So what would be the motivation for you? Why you choose, let's say, for example, you have your own business, why you choose to expand through franchising? You have why you want to be a franchisor. Let's say currently you have your own business. You have a small cafe, okay, which already in operation for more than 3 years, and you want to expand and you choose a franchise business model. So what would be the motivation? Okay, so okay, sorry, this is why franchise hang on, yeah. Okay, so actually because you have to first develop a standard operation manual system and control. That means it's good for your business. And then second, because it is a business model where you can expand with less capital. Less capital because when you appoint a franchisee or franchisees buy, want to be your franchisees want to buy the franchise as a franchisee, that's mean the franchisees is the one who will responsible for the capital, the startup capital, paying all the requirements needed for the equipments for whatever capital investment needed, yeah, to open a outlet. And then it's an effective mechanism for market penetrations. It is proven because of things here, yeah. An alternative to the costly and time-consuming opening owns outlet because each of the outlets owns by the franchisees independent of you in terms of capital, in terms of finding employees. Of course, as the franchisors, you give support, yeah, and sharing the risk and responsibility in comparison to, let's say, you open another branch because you have to be responsible of the operation, responsible of the employees, and a lot of things. Yeah. And number 6 is on the economies of scale. Of course, when you expand, uh, and then you have the purchasing power, because the more you expand, the more franchisees you have. That's mean we have purchasing powers in purchasing the raw material, for example. The more you purchase, because all outlets will be using the same materials or raw materials, so you can bargain in terms of price. You are a very influential buyer for the supplier. Yeah. Okay, so this is the same thing on the management structure, and then that will a lot of things, yeah, in the day-to-day operations of the franchise. And to the franchisee, why you start the franchise business, rather than being a startup business, or buy the existing business which is not franchise. Of course, entering business without wide experience. That's mean, um, because the franchise business, they already developed their standard operating procedure, in terms of training, in terms of the operations, to the very details, in terms of the the store layout, color, branding, location. Yeah, so you can quickly enter the business without that wide experience, but patience is still important there. It's not because you just have the money, and then you can start your own franchise. Yeah, as a franchisee, you need to have the patience, and then this is the fastest way of own a business. Yeah. And then site selection and standardized design, so customer will be more familiar with it, so you don't have to yell for your brand. Yeah, because we customer are already familiar with the brand, the layout. And if you are a franchisee, you're becoming part of a big business with relatively a small capital. Why big business? Because with the many franchise at every town, at every city, for example, as if like you are part of that big, let's say you are franchisee to McDonald's, or franchisee to the Old Town Coffee. Yeah. So you are part of having something which already have the brand name in the market. And reduce business risk, because earlier I mentioned proven business model, and advantage of economies of scale, so that at least you buy raw material from your suppliers. um, you gain that economies of scale, because your what do you call that, the franchisor is already buying it in bulk, yeah, on behalf of all franchisees. Of course, continuous support, having everything proven, operating manual, and shortcut of the learning curve. This is again because the franchisors, they have been there, they have gone through all the processes, all the mistake they have learned. So it's very quick learning curve. Of course, prominent brand name, bigger network, and okay, economies of scale. So some of the franchise trend on the opportunities, as you can see here, food beverages is a lot of franchise registration and the food and beverages. And this data is according to the Malaysian Franchise Association, and given by consultant, yeah, in franchising. So some of the high demand sector still, yeah, and some of the opportunity in franchise, food and beverages, retailing, training and education, and beauty and health. The emerging trends, bubble for food and beverages, emerging trends, if you can see, the younger generation now, the bubble tea, tea and coffee, this is the emerging trends, yeah. Ice cream based, healthy food, halal certifications, outlet for food. Services, okay, self-service laundry, the coin-operated laundry, healthcare, cleaning services, home maintenance and will writing. Islamic pawnbroking, education, tutoring subject. This is like, it's a trend now on the education, like very specific subject. Tuition center, very specific for English or for maths. Or many years ago, if we go for the tuitions, yeah, one tuition center will cover all subjects. But if you can see the emerging trend now, very specific to one subject, and the syllabus, the branding, they are now entering into the franchise a business model. This is still on the emerging trends, yeah, on the franchising. Some of the slowing trends are travel agencies, mail-based clothing, franchise-based fast food, and froyo-based, like what do you call that? Uh, like we use some kind of like tutti frutti kind of things, yeah, and IT related. Another slowing trends, modern cosmetics, stationery and bookstore, electrical shops, massage and wellness. Okay, and in terms of the franchise trend, what you can see right now, even what is supported or urged by the government on the micro and affordable franchising investment scheme, which is the franchise that you can start less than 100,000 capital. So this is something to encourage more people, especially those among M40, to start their own business and be part of that bigger and recognized business network. And then the co-branding, for example, if you can see the co-branding between at the Petronas station, you can see selling Tea Life. So the co-branding between Petronas and Tea Life. Mobile franchising, the mobile truck, yeah, and the multiple units brand where franchisor owns multiple brands, yeah. Equinas with Tony Romas and Manhattan Fish Market, New York Steak, and also a conversion or own outlet converts into franchise, yeah. That's mean normal business, proven more than 3 years success, good financial projection, wanted to be a franchisor, yeah, so turn into a franchise, a conventional business model into a franchise. That is where you see the registrations, even for the half year of 2022 is already 40 registration of the new franchise. And some of the challenges, there are also questions about the franchisor survival rate. And even if you notice out there, some of the brand disappear in the market, yeah, uh, no longer no longer around, yeah, and new brands are coming. But in terms of this franchise survival, actually challenges also applicable, or challenges in terms of the management of the franchise management, monitoring, those are issues, yeah, similar to any other business model. And as a franchisee, there's no correlation. Some of the like what do you call famous question will be which franchisor is the best, so that they want to buy. They want to be a franchisee. So actually, there's no research actually proven that there's a correlation between the cost of buying the franchise and the profit it can earn. Yeah. So these are some of the reflection, both for the franchisor and franchisee. Not anybody can be a franchisee. So it's not because they have money and then you accept them as a franchisee. We receive a lot of report from the franchisors. They want to look for someone who have the passions and commitment, because a lot of business, if you have money, you buy as a franchisee and then you neglect, yeah, you don't monitor, it's the failure, yeah. And Okay, so we are talking about the challenges, right? Challenges. So it's yes, it is. It looks like to be a franchisor, it's an easy money. You sell. You are not. If you sell, let's say, a tea, when you franchise your business, you are not selling tea, but you sell a system, because you are looking for investor, your franchisee. Yeah, but actually, you need to prove yourself. Are you having a proven system or track record? Do you have a proper recruitment procedure? And do you have a comprehensive initial and ongoing training, and strong organizational structure? You have the franchise development manager to take care of things. Do you have enough financial resources, support monitoring, marketing, and ongoing R&D? Because a failure of any of these, you will collapse as a franchisor as well. So I'm sharing a bit about the documentation required. For example, if you want to be a franchisor, maybe Cik Murni will be sharing more about the legal aspect of the franchise. Let's say you need to have a franchise operation manual, franchise training manual, for example. That's mean as a business out there, what is lacking, they don't have standard operation procedure. So they have to develop one. If you don't have the procedure, forget about franchising your business. Yeah. And this is one of the hurdles as well. You need 3 years audited financial statement, because you have to be proof that you are successful with a good financial return. Then you can sell your business to the franchisee. Yeah. And this disclosure document actually, you spell out a lot of things there uh, in terms of the radius, in terms of the materials, yeah, and a lot of things that you share in terms of the royalty. There's a lot of things here. And as a franchisee, now we're talking about challenges. Again, as a franchisee and as a franchisee relationship, compliance, yeah, even franchisor and franchisee relationships is highly and widely discussed in the franchise sector, because the importance of compliance for the franchisee to comply with the rules and regulation set up by the franchisor. For example, one simple example, if you are the franchisees of um, uh, Old Town White Coffee. So in the agreement, these are the selection of product that you have to sell, and suddenly you are selling something different. You cannot do that. Yeah. And they have rules and regulation in terms of standard operation procedure of preparing coffee. So, and you have a better idea of how the coffee should looks like, what should be added. You cannot do that because you are ruining, yeah, the franchisor original recipe, yeah, and you are not compliant. So these are some of the challenges. Are you ready to just follow? If you have that high entrepreneurial characteristic, you want to try and error, you cannot do that. If you are a franchise, you just have to follow, but you can be very innovative in the way you market your product. Okay. I think you can skip on this one. But I don't have that much time because I'm given only 9:18, 15, and now it's 9:18. But I just want to share that the this is something that we often receive feedback from the franchise business, yeah, especially those who are venturing overseas. That global supply chain is one of the issues that is important, and the decision of the sourcing of raw material from the home country, if they are venturing overseas, abroad, and which raw material that they can source at both home and abroad, for example, is issues that they need to know, and some of the regulatory requirement, yeah. And then finally, on the challenges, again, the challenges faced by SMEs running conventional business extend to the franchise business as well. The franchisor, so it's the same challenges, yeah. And the franchise need to adapt to the new norms, especially after the COVID-19. And the post-COVID, some of the opportunity on the digitalization, because the digitalization can also help in terms of the internal capabilities and support cooperations. Remember, for franchise, standardization is very important for to ensure franchisee compliance. So digitalization will help a lot, and it can actually reduce operating costs, effective cost management, and so on and so forth. And it's add value, yeah, to the product and services. And the millennial population is now growing, and they are the important economic force. So they are very much into the tech savvy, tech savvy demographic. So if your business adopt digitalization in the customer service, in the operations, so that will attract more of this millennial population. And that's all for my sharing today. If you need more information, you can visit Malaysian Franchise Association through this email, or you can follow the social media as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Azmawani Abdurrahman, for such a great sharing session. Okay, so maybe I just summarize a bit, Prof, on your session. Okay, so Prof has given us a valuable insight, okay, on the franchise business ecosystem in Malaysia. Okay, so she also has provided us, okay, with the overall picture, okay, of the development of the franchise business at the national and international levels. Okay, the statistics on the sectors, and also very interesting on the dark side of franchising. Okay, so Prof, when I see the brand just now, it makes me very thirsty and
And
very
hungry.
hungry also. Hungry, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, so very interesting. So now I open the floor to the audience to ask question. So we have 10 minutes Q&A session. Okay, Prof, I think we have the first question. Okay, I think how does the pandemic impact the cross-integration supply chain in the franchise business? So I think Prof, you can read on the screen. Okay, the question posed by the audience. How does
Mhm.
the pandemic impact the cross-integration supply chain in the franchise business?
Oh, wow. That is a very
Yeah.
serious question for
Yeah.
9:22 p.m. at night. Okay, so we know this is not only franchise, not only for franchise business. We know that the pandemic actually the cross integration here means the global or the between franchisees or between franchisors. The cross integration, yeah, the franchise business. Okay, so the COVID-19 actually a pandemic actually, as we know, because of the restriction of traveling, has actually affected a lot in terms of the globalization, as in terms of supply chain, especially on the raw material, especially those who are doing global business. So feedback that we receive from franchisor, they are affected a lot. Yeah, especially those in the restaurant, because they need the raw material and things like that. But one thing that we receive is that if they have a very good relationship with the suppliers, that can actually reduce, yeah, the challenges in the cross integration and supply chain. Good relationship with the suppliers, because franchise they are, because they have this economies of scale, they buy in large, in bulk, so they have that negotiation power, yeah, at least a little bit better than the normal business model, but still challenge, and still the challenge until now, actually, not only during the pandemic, but also during the chicken issue, chicken, yeah. The chicken supply, the shortage of chicken supply. So this restaurant, which are chicken based, also having difficulty in the supply chain of the raw material, yeah. But again, a good relationship with supplier and being a powerful buyer, because buying in bulk helps a bit, yeah.
Thank you, Prof. So I believe the franchise business is all about building a relationship, I think, with the all the supply chain, I think. So we can have the next question. The next question is, does inflation pose a future threat to the franchise business in Malaysia? So inflation, Prof. So is it a threat to the franchise industry in Malaysia?
Mm. Oh, economic class. Okay. So inflation, yeah, pose the future threats to the franchise business in Malaysia. Yes, of course. It's not only to franchise business, but to all business in Malaysia, because when inflation, that means everything we have to pay more and reduce the purchasing power. The purchasing power. So the thing is with the inflation is that it reduced the purchasing power of the purchasing power of the customer because everything is expensive. Yeah. So when it reduced the purchasing power, that means demand will be slow. Demand will be very slow. But I believe in the recent budget, yeah, where the government would like to see the balance between the fiscal policy on the expansion between the demand between the and the play around with the tax, so that somehow will help the inflation. But bottom line, the bigger the inflation, that means the less purchasing power, it will give a threat to a franchise business. And now it's a questions about how they compete, remain competitive in the market. So they have to compete, yeah, with each other, because to gain that to track get the attention of the customer with now slowing or small purchasing power because of the inflation. Mhm.
Yes, I believe inflation is not Malaysia problem. I think it's a global problem. I think inflation is. I think it's because of all the geopolitical things happening around the world. Okay, Prof,
Yes.
we have one more question because of the time limitation. Okay, so we have one more question. Okay, the question is how to ensure the financial viability of franchises today, especially
Mm.
when we are dealing with the significant rise in raw material
Mm.
costs in Malaysia. I think this
Mm.
question is again about
Yeah.
inflation, Prof. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, most of our audience is actually very concerned about the whole economic situation. Yeah, so the thing is, when we are talking about viability, because we're dealing with significant, yeah, raw material now. When raw material is about cost, Yeah, so of course, for example, if it's selling product, 70% of the costing goes to the raw material in comparison to service. Restaurant, for example, 70%, I mean, it's a lot paid on the raw material costs. Yeah. So when we talk about cost, when we cannot adjust because it's beyond the control, because it's the market. Yeah. So the thing that franchise today need to do is to reduce the operational costs through systematic, through the standardization, through digitalization, and through the economies of scale. So I strongly believe that the franchise system itself, the standardization, and then the standard operating procedure, which is very good standard operation procedure process, so that the owner can focus on the expansion rather on the operations, because the employees know what to do, because the direction, the process are very visible. So and then with the good process, written SOP, there will be less mistake, because they have the process. Less mistake mean less cost. Yeah, so that focus can be directed towards relationship with the customer service. So franchise business model today, through cost reduction in the operations, because of the uniqueness of the establishment itself, will of course can deal with rise in the raw material, because raw material price rise is beyond the control of any business. What they can do is something within their control, which is the operations inside the company itself. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof, for the good tips. So I think it's all about relationship again, building relationship, because franchising is all about the supply chain, is who you know in the supply chain. I think that is a good tips from you, Prof. Okay, thank you, Prof, for the first session. Very interesting. Okay, we're about to start with the second session, Prof. So thank you for your time, Prof. We will,
Okay.
yeah, thank you for your time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we will continue with the second part of the webinar, which will focus on the topic of the business franchise legal perspective. So before I call upon the second speaker, okay, I would like to share her brief profile. Our second speaker, okay, Ms. Murni Suranti bin Muhammad Latif, is practicing lawyer at Muhammad Latif Associates Melaka. Okay, she reads law in Mara Museum of Technology (UiTM) Shah Alam and graduated in LLB honors degree in the year 2007. She was called to the bar as an advocate and solicitor in the year of 2008. She is also a diploma holder in hotel and management in the year of 2001 under the Faculty of Hotel and Tourism, UiTM. Prior her current profession, she was a conference and event organizer under Public Affairs and Conference Services at the Institute of Strategic and International Studies, Malaysia. She and her team organized many high-profile think tank events under supervision of the director of Tengku Sheila Tengku Anwar Zainal. Okay, so without further ado, I call Ms. Murni from the Advocate and Solicitor Muhammad Latif Associates to deliver her topic on business franchise in Malaysia from legal perspective. The screen is yours, Ms. Murni.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Andy, Prof. Asma, rectors, doctors, lecturers, ladies and gentlemen. A good day to all of you, and thank you, Faculty of Hotel Tourism, UiTM Penang branch, for inviting me as a guest speaker for today's conference. And to be honest, I'm still learning, and there are many experts out there that we experience than me in terms of practical and theory in this industry. But rest assured, I'll try my best to share as much as I know with all of you regarding to franchise business in Malaysia from a legal perspective. And I hope this will be a fruitful session for my fellow viewers for your future undertaking, especially to the students that will become a future hotel franchise business owner, maybe future F&B owners, and to those who might have interest to become a franchisee one day. And this is the session you can have some insight on what is happening in the industry in terms of what is franchise business, how to start a franchise business in Malaysia, and what acts and rules that regulates franchise business in Malaysia, so on and so forth, inshallah. Okay, moving on. As Prof. Azma just now explained, business franchise is a method of expanding a business and distributing goods and services. It's a business in which the owner of the business, that is known as a franchisor, sells the rights of their business. That is, they have their own business model that they have created that includes logo, trademark, operational manual, training manuals, and they sell it to another party that is franchisee. And in consideration, they will the franchisee will pay some fees to the franchisor because they will conduct a business in accordance to franchisor business. Okay, in franchising model, the franchisee uses franchisor's firm successful business model. For example, successful business model is, for example, McDonald's. Okay, it's a very successful brand name. So the franchisee will use that business model to operate effectively and independent branch. Independent branch means as if franchisee will use that will operate the business as his business. Okay, and it is not employers relationship, partner and agent or what they call agent relationship. No, it's your own business, even though the franchisor have some control on your business. Okay, all right, moving on. Franchise business play a vital role in generating Malaysia economy, franchise in Malaysia. And according to Franchise Development Division under the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, based on the cumulative annual sales report for the year 2020, a total of ringgit Malaysia 4 billion was generated from franchise industry despite of the pandemic and COVID and so on. Okay, still generate a good business to the Malaysian economy. And then franchise industry is under the Franchise and Direct Selling Development Division, Ministry of Domestic and Consumer Affairs, headed by the Registrar of Franchise. Together, its agencies, franchise industry players, Malaysian Franchise Association, and financial institutions are actively work together to boost and strengthen the economy of the franchise activities. And they have a series of training, discussions, workshop being organized to assist and support the franchisors as well as franchisees in developing and expanding their brand and businesses. And okay, moving on, Franchise Act 1998. Okay, Franchise Act 1998 was introduced and enacted, and it's in force since 8 October 1999. It enacted to give guideline on the registration and to regulate the development and growth of the franchise business in Malaysia. Growth of franchise business in Malaysia means when you register, we will know how many foreign franchisor, how many foreign franchisees operates in Malaysia. So from there, we will know the statistic. The registrar will know the statistic franchise business that operates in Malaysia. And it's also set up guidelines on the obligation to both franchisor and franchisees so that they have mutual understanding accordance to Franchise Act, okay? And it also gives detail, the Franchise Act 1998, it gives details, mandatory requirements that the business must follow. And because if you violate the act, okay, it's an offense, okay? So from Franchise Act, clearly stated what franchise business must do. Okay. And then moving on. Okay, amendment to the Franchise Act 1998. Franchise Act was amended 2 times. That is in 2012 as well as 2020. And amendment in 2020 just took effect recently in April 2022. Because they want to see because there are also the new amendment in the franchise registration in the website. So they what do you call they start to enforce it parallel. Okay, and then it's also update this and strengthen the regulation in act to suit the franchise industry needs. And recently, the amendment, 2020 amendment, it imposed a quasi-criminal liability to those violate the act. That means if you violate the act, it's an offense under Franchise Act. And the prosecutor may prosecute you under the section that you violate on. And then quasi-criminal means lawsuit that has some, but not all qualities of criminal prosecution. Okay, I hope you understand. So, okay, what are the objective and goals of Franchise Act 1998? Okay, the objective and goals that expressed by the registrar of franchise is to gather information. As I said just now, when you do registration, from there we will know the statistic of how many franchisors and how many franchisees operate in Malaysia, so that we will be able to control the business in Malaysia. And then from there, we will see whether there is a positive development happen, and if there is some problems, what the registrar will be able to do. And it's also give protection to franchisor as well as franchisee, because they're set up in the act, there is a obligation of both parties, what they must do and what they must not do. And then from there, with Franchise Act, it will minimize the risk of, being scammed, and then being make a draft franchise agreement that is only benefit to one party, so it will minimize the risk by the Franchise Act 1998. That is the objective and goals of the registrar. All right, and moving on. Prior to the Franchise Act 1998, party were free to negotiate their own terms. That means they can draft their own agreement. There is no specific law. And last time, franchise business and agreements were governed by Contract Act 1950 and the common law. This is the general law. So when specific law when there is a specific law, that means specific law will prevail. So anything happens in the contract, franchise contract, so we will look into Franchise Act and not Contract Act. Okay. So previously there were none of specific law govern franchise business. And this give high flexibility to the franchisor to add whatever term that give disadvantages to the franchisee. And sometimes franchisee, when enter into the contract, they didn't, read thoroughly the franchise agreement, and at the end of the day, it will give disadvantages to the franchisee. And sometimes also, last time, it's difficult to control franchisee when it tends not to bound by the agreement because it's too flexible. Sometimes franchisee may also will not follow all the rules. Okay, especially to those who are very entrepreneur, they will set up their own sets of rules and regulation. It's a bit difficult. So, and when a when Franchise Act was introduced, it placed restriction, requirements, which if failure to bind by the clause, by both parties, it's an offense under the Act. So that is these advantages of Franchise Act enacted to control the business in Malaysia. I mean, the franchise business in Malaysia. And then definition of franchise is stated in Franchise Act 1999, that is under Section 4. It means a contract or an agreement which is expressed. This is a general definition. Yeah, a contract or agreement either expressed or implied, whether oral or written, between two or more persons. Okay, usually it's a written agreement. Okay, these four elements of contract, these four elements in the Act, okay, will show you that that is a franchise business. Okay, as Prof. Asmah said just now, there is a confusion between franchise agreement and license agreement. So with franchise Section 4, it stated clearly if there is these four elements of under this Act, so it will bound to be franchise business. What is this four elements? The first one is the franchisor grants the franchisee the right to operate a business according to the franchise system. Okay, the system that the franchisor created, the training manual that they created, and then they sell it to the franchisor during the term determined by franchisor. Okay, franchisor will set how many years of contract that they will enter into, and in Franchise Act, the minimum term that they must set in the franchise agreement is 5 years. Okay, not less than 5 years. Okay. And then when you give rights to to operate a business, okay, the franchisor also give a franchisee the right to use, okay, the right to use trademark, okay, trademarks, trade secret, confidential information, intellectual property of the franchisor. Okay, that means if franchisee wants to enter into the contract and into the business, that is the right that will be given by the franchisor to the franchisee. And the franchisor possesses the right to administer to continuous control during the franchise term. Even though I said that franchise business, if the franchisee buy franchise business from the franchisor, uh, it is considered uh, the franchisee's business, but still the franchisor have right to administer continuous control during the franchise term. Okay, because why? Because you are using their training manuals, because you are using their operational manuals. So they must set some regulation to the franchisee, so that the franchisee will not go beyond the system that created by them. Okay. And then in return of the grant of rights, the franchisee may require to pay fee and to other form of consideration, such as franchisee have to pay royalty to the franchisor, and some advertisement fees that they have to pay to the franchisor. Okay, so these four elements will prove that that is the franchise business. If not, it is considered as a license agreement. Okay. Okay. Just now, the right to use trademarks. Okay. Whenever in franchise business, you have to have trademark and you need to register. It is compulsory in the Franchise Act that you must register your trademark. So you can register your trademark under my IPO in the website that I shared, the link that I shared. Okay, and then from here you can see how to patent, how to do trademarks. How to register trademarks, how to register your patent, and so on. And it's also give you guidelines to what would you like to protect. You want to protect your copyright, your business name, your design, whatever it is in under in my IPO, that is my intellectual property. Okay, so this is where you can register online. Okay, it's much easier for you. Okay, moving on. If you can see clearly, this is the process of this is the process that you will go through when you register your trademark. It takes sometimes around 1 year to to get a license, to approve for the registrar to approve your license. So I advise for you, if you intend to start your franchise business, in the future, start to register your trademark first. Okay, if not, it's very difficult for you to proceed your business or to sell your business. Okay, we're going to the type of franchise registration. Okay, registration under Section 6, franchise business registration in Malaysia. A person who intend to operate franchise business in Malaysia must register their business with the registrar. Failure to register is an offence. Okay, so you must register, because there is one case where they intend to do their intention is to operate as a license. Okay, but once they have the elements, 4 elements just now, as a franchisor, that means they have to register. So they fail to register their franchise business into the registrar, so it is an offence. Previously, this case happened prior to the amendment of 2020. That means if they violate the requirement in Franchise Act 1998, the franchise agreement render null and void. Null and void means the agreement was not as if was not exist at all. Okay, so whatever fees that the franchisor have taken from the franchisee, they must refund back. Okay, so it is a very serious matter whereby everyone, whether you are a foreign franchisor, you are a local franchisor, you are franchisee, you need to register under Section 6 of Franchise Act. Okay, and Section 6A is a section where franchisee to a foreign franchisor, where a franchisee who has been granted a business from foreign franchisor shall apply to register the franchise with the registrar by submitting the application with prescribed fee, and it's subject to the registrar approval. Okay, and then under section 6B is for franchisee for local franchisor. That means franchisee who buy a local franchisor product shall register the franchise with registrar, also with fees within 14 days from the date of signing of the agreement between franchisor and franchisee. So you can see the difference between franchisee of a foreign franchisor where you need to get an approval first, and then after that you can register. But for our local franchisor, you can start register after you sign your Franchise Act within 14 days. Okay. And then, okay, this section 45 is section 54 of Franchise Act. It's for foreign franchisor. And we go to section 53 first, okay? So for a foreign franchisor, a franchisor who intend to sell franchise to a person who is not Malaysian citizen shall obtain approval and shall subject to the condition which imposed by the registrar, whereby a foreign franchisor who intend to sell a franchise in Malaysia, who wants to operate a franchise in Malaysia, they need to get an approval from the registrar first, and then once approved, the registrar can then after that you can register your business, your franchise business in Malaysia. Okay, the difference between foreign franchisor is you have to get an approval from the registrar, and then after that, then you can, after approved, then you can register. For local franchisor, you can straight away register your franchise, okay, without get any approval. So from there you will get your license, or either your application is being rejected or approved. Okay, moving on. Okay, so for application for registration under section 6, okay, when registered, there is a certain documents that you need to submit to the registrar, okay, with a fee. That is disclosure document. What is the disclosure document? Disclosure document is a document that franchisor will submit, and it is to assist you to understand the franchise offer made, and this document will be examined and compared with franchise agreement. Once submitted, the registrar will examine and compare together with franchise agreement. Okay, so whatever in the disclosure document, there will be in the franchise agreement. And should there any inconsistency exist between disclosure documents and the franchise agreement, the franchise agreement shall prevail. Okay, and then it's also have a sample of franchise agreement. You need to submit your training manuals, your module, your SOP, and then latest audited account, financial statement, and additional information and document as registrar may require. So if there is a document that registrar required to, they will notice you by writing, in writing. And then after that, you need to show and you need to submit whatever document that requested by them. Okay, and then the effect of the date of registration when once approved. Okay, the registration shall be effective on the date stated the written notice given by the registrar. That means the registrar will give notice that your application is approved. Then that is the your registration date. Okay, this is where you can do it online. Foreign franchisor, local franchisor can register your franchise business, okay, in this website. And it shows it shows the process. It shows the process of registration. Okay, you can check how to register. You can check in this website. And then, okay, we go to franchise agreements. Okay, just now is Franchise Act. So under the Franchise Act, there is a franchise agreement. Franchise agreement is a contract or agreement between franchisor and franchisee, okay, between both of them in respect of a franchise in return to any form of consideration. And it shall be in writing, it must be in writing, and shall contain but not limited to, these requirements, okay, name, territorial rights, franchise fees, franchise right, condition. There is like, if I'm not mistaken, 13 requirements, and it is mandatory. Okay, failure to add all the requirements in the franchise agreement, it is an offense. Okay, and there is a punishment by way of fine or imprisonment. But there is report on if the person would there is no report that imprisonment that you sorry there is no report on imprisonment punishment given by the registrar to the franchisor, either franchisee. And then okay, wait. Okay, so these are the name, territorial rights, franchise fee, obligation of the franchisor and franchisee, franchisee right to use trademark, condition under which franchisee may impose, may assign right under the franchise, cooling off period must be stated. And then the description pertaining to their mark, intellectual property, it must stated clearly in the franchise agreement, okay? And then type of particular assistance provided by franchisor and so on, so forth, okay? And then the cooling period must be given not less contract. Intend not to proceed with the franchise agreement, you may do so, but within that 10 days only. Okay, so whatever proceed fees that have been paid by the franchisor need to refund back to the franchisee after deduct all the administration costs, okay, legal fees, something like that. You will not get the exact amount when you pay to the franchisor previously. So there is administration cost over there. It's allowed to be deducted. And then a franchisor and franchisee, there is a legal issues in franchise business. A franchisor and franchisee shall act in honest and lawful manner and shall make an effort to pursue the best franchise business practice in time and place. And franchisor and franchisee in dealing with one another shall avoid the following conduct. Must have that ethical and that business ethic, okay, stated in the franchise franchise act. It must be there must not be a substantial and unreasonable fees and prices when setting a franchise agreement, and then unnecessary and unreasonable risk to be incurred by one party. Okay, there must the conduct that is not reasonably necessary for the protection of legitimate business for the interest of the franchisor only. So it must be balanced. Okay. Okay, so another legal issues is the difficulty and the confusion to differentiate franchise business and licensed business. And the solution is how to differentiate both of type of the business. We need to look into the four elements just now. As I said just now, the right to operate business. If you have that four element, you have right to use your trade secret, the right to administer continuous control during the franchise term, and then consideration that for elements exist, it is a franchise agreement. It is a franchise agreement and it is a franchise business. And licensed business is not definite in a law, and there's no need to register. Franchise, they need to register under Section 6 and it's regulated under Franchise Act. And then license is unable to restrain, license agreement or licensed business is unable to restrain to other party to conduct similar business. Okay, you cannot restrain people to do another same business. But in Franchise Act can restrain the franchisee to do similar business up to 2 years after determination, and it include directors, spouses, and immediate family. So within that 2 years, um, whoever the contract terminated, they cannot do similar business. Okay, and not all countries have specific laws, so there is no uniformity. Okay, so foreign business may tend to operate their franchise business in another country which has more flexible rules and regulation. And in conclusion, the regulation in Franchise Act is to make sure that both franchisor and franchisee know how the industry operates and how the Act regulates. And the Act make clear to all the industry players to follow the requirements stated in the Act to make sure that the business runs smoothly and less risk. And the Act also give guidelines to foreign franchisor who is interested to operate business in Malaysia, so that when they know minimal risk of their application being rejected. And further, to ensure less risk at the early stage before register you as a franchisor or franchisee, you may hire a consultant or get professional advice, or even the government and its agency, so that the document that you sub to register in order is in order and approved by them, less hassle. And then after that, there is a PERNAS, Malaysian Franchise Association, and other private institutions always provide training for those who are interested to become franchisor as well as a franchisee. Do go for their training, okay? And then get the right franchisee. For franchisor, get the right franchisee to operate the business, to make sure that your brand name will not be tarnished by the interview your prospect properly. You may do networking in a conference. Your franchisee do have interview them thoroughly. So for franchisee, okay, I advise that when you enter into a contract with your with your franchisor, do understand the agreement properly, so to make sure that the business that you intend to join suits you. Okay, we don't want at the end of the day you are unable to run the business due to the fact that you do not agree with the system set up by the franchisor. At the end of the day, it will disadvantages you. Okay, I think that is it, the end of my presentation. So thank you for all the viewers.
Thank you, Ms. Murni Suranti, for the informative presentation on business franchise in Malaysia from legal perspective. Listening to Ms. Murni, suddenly I remember my moments in my law class during my diploma. Okay, it was happy moment. Okay, so it was the memory. Yeah. So yeah, taking law class is challenging, but I think it's important for us to know what is
Interesting.
the legal perspective, okay, in terms of in Malaysia context. Okay, so before I proceed, I would like to summarize, okay, our second session. Okay, Ms. Morni, okay, she has shared valuable knowledge on the franchising legal framework in Malaysia. Okay, the do's and don'ts, in the franchise business. Okay, and also she talked about the registration process, okay, the franchise agreement, okay, trademark, and also the intellectual property. Okay, and interesting, she also talked about legal issues in franchise business in Malaysia. Okay, so thank you very much. So now we will read some questions from the audience. Okay, the first question, Ms. Moroni. Are there any changes in terms of legal issues related to the franchise operation in Malaysia post-pandemic? Ms. Moroni? So Ms. Muni having a bit of difficulty. So we will wait for Ms. Muni to come back with us to answer the questions. So audience, please keep on posting the questions while waiting for Ms. Muni to appear with us just in a moment. We are sorry for the slight hiccups. So now Ms. Moni is back with us.
Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, I think it's the norm. Okay, having a virtual webinar. Okay, technical errors or technical issues. So now we are back on track. Okay, so the first question, Ms. Moni. Okay, are there any changes in terms of legal issues related to franchise operation in Malaysia post-pandemic?
The changes in terms of legal issues. Okay. As I said just now, our Franchise Act amendment has been enforced just in April 1998, and then there is a COVID-19 happen. It affect a lot of franchisor and franchisee, especially the franchisee, because they need to follow all the rules and regulation that stated in the franchise agreement. For example, they have to buy all the products from the franchisor where there is no sale made during pandemic, right? Okay, so we have put in a force measure. Force majeure means if act of God. That means if anything happens, what the franchisor or what the franchisee's rights to towards if anything happens in the future. So there is some changes. There is some upgrading happened according to our new amendment.
Okay, thank you for the interesting answer. So now we
Welcome.
move on to the second questions. Okay, so the second question is, what is the common conflict from a legal perspective occurs between franchisor and franchisee? I believe you have
Okay.
this experience on this. Yeah, Miss Moni.
Yeah, oh, okay. I can see my okay, never mind. Okay. Conflicts happens when they don't understand the franchise agreement. So I advise you, for the franchisor, make sure that you are very, what to say, uh, not for the interest of only, for the franchisor interest only. You must also think for the interest of your franchisee, because you work together. Okay, you want your franchisee to to protect your brand name, a goodwill, good brand name. So common conflicts, they don't understand franchise agreement, whereby when the franchisee enter into agreement, it does not suit whatever terms in the agreement that's set up by the franchisor. And at the end of the day, sometimes they just abandon the franchise agreement and abandon the operation of franchise business. So usually that is the conflict happen in our industry.
Okay, so I believe it is important to read first the agreement before you
Yes,
sign the agreement, right?
yes,
So
please make
normally we
sure.
just we just see the agreement as a money symbol, so without reading the agreement, the details of it. Okay, now we move
Correct.
on to the third question. Um, okay, what are the red flags that potential franchisee needs to be worried of when it comes to the franchise agreement? So
Mm-hmm.
what do you think the red flags?
uh Usually you must look at the terms of the contract. For example, your termination. Okay, if your contract has been terminated, what are your rights? Okay, and then after that, you need to know, especially the product that the franchisor sells. Okay, you must see, there is a certain requirements that franchisor will set. That means you have to buy from them every 3 months or maybe 4 months. You must look into that perspective, whereby are you what to say, do you able to do that, or you're not able to do that. So you must read through your franchise agreement properly, so that you will know your rules. You will know your rights and obligation between both parties. I
Thank
hope.
you, Miss Maruni. We
Yes.
have another questions. Let me check with the technical teams. Do we have any questions? No question, Miss Maruni. That's all. Three
All
interesting
right.
questions that you have answered. Okay, within
Thank
these 10
you.
minutes. Okay, thank you very much. So I will make some remarks. Okay, on the closing. Okay, speech. Okay, so all great things must come to an end. Okay, within these 2 hours webinar, we have gained so much valuable information about the franchise industry in Malaysia. Our first speaker, okay, Prof. Dr. Asmawani, has shared about the development, issues, and challenges in the franchise industry, while our second speaker, Ms. Moni, talked about the legal framework of the franchise business. I believe after this webinar, most of you here will have some ideas on what franchising is and how to venture into the franchise business. Thank you to all speakers, Professor Dr. Zawani Abraman and Ms. Murni Suranti Abunatip for the great session. So before we end the webinar, I would like to humbly request everyone to turn on their camera for our photo session. The technical team will provide you with the cue. I'll pass to the technical team. Over to you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good evening. Okay, thank you for your participations tonight. Okay, before we end our session, let's keep our memories together tonight. Okay, so let's take a picture. Okay, smile. 1, 2, 3. One more. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, freestyle. One more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you very much. We would like to say thank you also to Yang Berusaha Associate Professor Insinyur Dr. Ahmad Rashidi Razali, Rector of UiTM Cawangan Pulau Pinang, and also our Head of Center of Studies, our Associate Professor Dr. Hashim Fazil Arifin, for the great session. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. To all audience from UiTM Mara, so UiTM Cawangan Pulau Pinang especially, please don't forget to scan the QR code shows on the screen, and please fill up the attendance and feedback form. This will be registered as a training hours for your item staff. All attendees will get their e-certificate through registered email. And with that, thank you and see you again in the next webinar. Thank you. Good night.